I just run like high intent dripping leads. There's always some intent behind it. They're always filling out an ad. They're always constantly coming in. And then I'll dial those downward, get a couple of sales, and then I'll call them again upward. And then now I know I actually was able to dial through these intentionally. And then I can pass those on to downlines or new people starting off. That way they can start getting some capital.
So you call them for what, a week, and then pass them on to someone?
Yeah, I'll say like half a week. Towards the end, maybe buy like another lead pack or two.
Yeah.
Like I'm never scared of putting money into myself and my business.
So Breon, you have sold 309,000 so far this year.
Yes, sir.
Right. Did you know that?
No.
No. Okay. Because you're just busy selling. You don't even know.
Yeah.
How have you done, and maybe this is a weird, but how have you sold that much in, and we're talking this is as of May, by the way, 5 months. What is the key to that, in your opinion?
Well, the key to that, I'd say one thing I do differently is I'm constantly like bookkeeping, I guess. Like I keep a look at how much I got to invest, and based off statistics from the past couple months or weeks, how much my return has been.
Yeah.
So then I know a certain extent like where the cap off is. So I'll always do a certain amount, bare minimum of leads.
Yeah.
And I'll have it at a flow. Like I think someone mentioned to me in Monte that Michael Field was talking to them about us, how we're constantly buying leads without it having recurring.
Yeah.
And that's just one thing that I have is like lead flow is cash flow. Like I hear it all the time. So that's one thing I made sure that I always like stay on top of, is I'm always having a fresh new batch of people to talk to.
Yeah. So you're starting with the investment. I know how much I need to invest every week to produce X.
Yeah, 100%. And just I'm always keeping track of that stuff. So that way, even like when new people start off, I can give them the playbook. Like, hey, this is how much it's going to take for you to reach a certain amount. This is how much you'll make. Just make sure you're writing clean business, making sure everyone's on the same page, things like that.
Because it's a numbers game, dude. Like, and once you know your numbers, you can almost take the emotion out of it, right? Like, it's an emotional business. There's highs, there's lows. I mean, when you start out, most people struggle a little bit. People think about quitting. Hopefully they don't. They keep pushing through. But once you know your numbers, your closing ratio, how many people you need to talk to, then it's just plug and play, right?
100%.
If I know if I buy this, if I have this amount of leads, I'm going to book X amount of appointments, I'm going to close this many sales, and on average, here's what my premium is going to be. Yeah. And if something's off, it's maybe I didn't have enough leads, but it's literally plug and play with numbers.
Yeah.
You know?
1,000%. That's one thing I'm always being able to stay on top of, is just giving new downlines the bare minimum. This is how much you got to do to see this much. Like, what are your goals? I know how to get you there, just based off my numbers that I always keep track of every week.
And what are you doing for leads? Social media?
Yeah, so I just run like high intent dripping leads. Okay. Just making sure like my leads there's always some intent behind it. They're always filling out an ad, and they're always constantly coming in at the start of the week. Yeah.
Do you have a lead goal? Like, hey, I need to have this many new leads a week, or what is that number?
Bare minimum, I'll say like 60 to 90.
60 to 90 leads a week.
60 to 90 fresh new leads a week.
Yeah.
And then I'll dial those downward once, get a couple of sales, and then I'll call them again upward. Yeah. And then I'll go down the list again. And then now I know I actually was able to dial through these intentionally. And then I can pass those on to downlines or new people starting off. Got it. So that way they can start getting some capital.
So you call them for what, a week, and then pass them on to someone?
Yeah, I'll say like half a week.
Half a week,
and then towards the end, maybe buy like another lead pack or two. Yeah. Like I'm never scared of putting money into myself and my business. Right. Never. I'm never gonna like hold myself back.
Were you ever in the beginning?
Yeah. Yeah. At the start, I was always thinking about what if I don't make a return.
Right. Which is normal.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to kind of break that mentality?
Once I started running like actually higher intent resources. Yeah. And then it all kind of flipped the switch, and I started seeing a bigger return, and I never lost money. I always broke even. Yeah. Or I always gained. So just being able to be confident about myself and like my skill set.
Yeah.
I always know that I'm never gonna be going backwards.
Right.
But I also never look at leads like that anymore. I always look at leads now like there's at least 2, 3, 4, 5 people out of this lead pack, bare minimum, that are going through a financial struggle that I could put them in a better place.
Yeah.
Or they're looking for something more, or they're looking for something that they're throwing money away in. And that's how I look at my resources. I never look at them like, oh, like I might not. Hopefully I make my return this week, or like a gamble. Like I know I'm going to help at least a couple people in there.
Well, you got to treat it like a business, because if you treat it like a job, it's easy to get in that mentality of, oh my God, I spent this money. What am I? But if it's a business, dude, it's no different than putting gas in your car, right? You can't go anywhere if you don't have gas.
Yeah.
If you're running a pizza shop, you got to buy dough and food and things like that. Like you can't go, well, we didn't make enough last week. I can't buy more, food. I can't buy more pizza dough. Well, all right, what are you going to do next week, though, when people come in and order pizzas? You're going to go, I ran out?
Yeah.
You'll be out of business real fast, whatever you're selling. And it's switching that mentality from a job to running your own business. You're your own boss.
Yeah. And I like to use that analogy a lot, to be honest. I always compare this to like the restaurant business. Even in my sales trainings, just going over the basics. Like you got to have your leads. You got to have your ingredients before you open up shop.
Right.
You got to have a strict schedule. You're going to open up shop at this time, close shop at this time, 7 days a week. And you got to have your resources before people walk through the door, before you start making those dials. Like you got to have fresh new stuff.
Right.
So I always bring it back to like the restaurant business, or just people like fail to put things into perspective as a business. Like they go into this industry thinking it's like a job.
Mm-hmm.
They put in the bare minimum and get the bare minimum out. Like you got to put more and expect to get more out of it.
Absolutely. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they start off, buy some leads, make some sales, they get their first check or whatever, and they don't buy more leads. Yeah. They're like, well, hey, but I bought 60 or whatever. I bought 90 leads last week, Breon. Why do I need new ones? I only made 10 sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then every time you go back to those leads, the chances of making sales is lower and lower. You've already called through them.
Yeah, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, not constantly like reinvesting into your business.
Right. Then the further you get away from it, now you have even less money. So now it's even hard. Like if you go out, buy some leads, make a couple sales, get paid, and buy leads right away, that's a lot different than, well, I'm going to wait and see. Yeah. Oh, shit, another week's gone by. Now I need to buy more leads. Now I'll put some money. Yeah, but now a whole nother week's gone by. Yeah, a whole nother week of expenses, life, the whole By the time you get to around actually deciding to buy some leads, you ain't got no money left.
100%.
That's why you got to do it right away. Yeah. Every week.
Yeah, new agents, they have struggles with like being proactive about keeping things in like a consistent flow. Like everything's got to be done beforehand. You got to buy your leads before the week starts. You got to map out your week, map out your goals. And that's one thing that's a really common misconception is like you can just show up, go through the motions. Like everything's got to be intentionally done. You got to wake up at a certain time. Everything's got to be like fixed. It's got to stay like that.
Well, let's get into what you're doing on the phone. So are you booking appointments or doing one call closes predominantly?
Me, I don't book appointments.
Okay.
Like I don't dial leads and make my end goal to book an appointment.
Your goal is one call close.
Yeah.
Got it.
And if I have to set up an appointment, like people are always busy.
Yeah.
And I'll just tell them like, hey, wow, what time works best for you when you're home later today? I'll call them later, and then I'll have like at least 6 to 8 appointments for that day or the next day, and typically you'll close it like 2 or 3, and then just redial those people because life comes.
Absolutely,
up, like,
shit happens.
Yeah.
But so if you don't get them right on the spot, you're trying to book them for later that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but once you got them on the phone, before we started recording, you had talked to me a little bit about finding the client's why.
Yeah.
Right? It's a massive part of the sale.
It's huge.
If you don't find that, I mean, by accident, you may close a few, but the odds of those, it also helps after the sale as well. You talked about quality of business a little bit. You mentioned it a few times. That's huge. Because it's one thing for me to get you to say yes on the spot.
Yeah.
But if you're going to cancel tomorrow, the next day, a week from now, it didn't matter. I left. Now you're in the same position you were in before I called you with no insurance, and now I have a chargeback.
Yeah.
Right? That's not good for either one of us. So talk to me about how you do that. How do you find that why? What is the key to that? What are some things you're looking for? And then how do you know when you, I guess, dug into it enough and now you can move on?
Yeah. So a really big thing is that I tell all my agents is people are not getting insurance for themselves. They're never trying to fill out a whole form and have themselves in mind. Like, it's always someone else.
Right.
So that's what you got to dig deep into and what I like to focus on, and also what they have. So after I call up Mary, introduce myself, give her my information, I like to ask them as many questions as possible. Like, I'm never going to be the person that's afraid to ask questions. Like, I break down if they have anything in force. Are you trying to find something cheaper, Mary? What's your long-term goal? Like, what inclined you to even go thus far as picking up a call, writing my information down in regards to this? And then asking like really open-ended questions is what enables the conversation to move forward in a bigger perspective. It opens up the individual's thought process instead of just kind of saying like, do you have anything? You don't think you have enough?
Yeah. And
then if they have stuff already, I like to dig deep into that. So I'll ask Mary, hey, Mary, like, what'd you have in place? Was it something cheap? Was it a big death benefit? Now I know, like, all right, you're probably paying into something that's going to expire. Or are you paying into something that's gone up in premium on you? Or do you have something in force that you were just looking to add on?
Yeah.
And then when people have coverage in force already, I'll always give them two options. So I'll always mention, Mary, if you have 20 grand and you're paying 95 on it, you got to set up like a year or two ago, and you want more, I'm going to look into getting you more. Like, I'm contracted with all these A-rated carriers that offer a really low premium, and I'm going to custom tailor this to you. Like, that's a given.
Yeah.
I'm not biased, so I'm not licensed to put you in a bad position. We're going to find the most optimal coverage for you to go with. But I wouldn't be doing my due diligence myself, not mentioning this to you, because life insurance is cheaper by the thousand. So we could get you more and just set up a bigger policy without you even having to pay more. If that makes sense. So whatever way you go, you're not going to go backwards.
Yeah.
So, and now I have two options. I presented it, and whichever way we go, they're fine with. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's one thing I'm huge on, is always giving people two options and just letting them pick. And I'm always mentioning, like, we're not going to go backwards at all. Like, you're going to be in a better position regardless of the scenario that we go with. And also, when pitching IULs to people, and I know a lot of people run into this, is like they'll go through a whole presentation pitching an IUL, how great it is, and then they get declined.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're like, oh, what happened to the IUL? I'm going to just look somewhere else, and that's going to approve me.
Yeah.
So before I even step into an e-app for an IUL, after explaining how great it is, how 50% goes into the market, 50% goes to this, it's a bigger death benefit, costs less than a whole life. To put into perspective, I'll always like put into perspective the premiums and things like that.
Yeah.
How much they'll be saving in cash value, whether they keep like the term that they have, or how much they'll be gaining, how much money they'll be saving if they do this. I'm always like a big long-term guy.
Yeah.
Like, I like to break it down, what it'll look like for them long-term, because we don't expect them to pass away tomorrow, and I'll tell them that.
Yeah.
But
what percentage of your sales are IUL right now?
I'll say not a lot, if I'm being honest with you. I do want to start pitching that more.
Yeah.
Because every time I pitch an IUL, like 90% of the time I'm closing them.
Yeah.
Because I like to keep it super simple.
It's a great product. I mean, the product sells itself pretty much, right? I want to go back to what you were talking about before with them having insurance. I know that, at least when I started, I looked at that the wrong way. Like, oh, they have insurance, they're all set.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of new agents go through that. But what you got to take in consideration is they know they had that insurance when they filled out whatever they filled out, right? Like when they responded to your ad, they had that policy. A lot of times they had the policy for years.
Yeah.
So they're not looking for you all the time to come up with a better policy. Maybe, but they filled this out knowing they had that, looking for more. And your approach, it's very assumptive, right? Yeah. You give them two options. Neither one of those options is not doing something. The option is either we give you extra and you keep what you have, or if we can, cover what you have and then some, we'll give you a bigger policy for the same price.
100%.
But the option is never like, oh, if we can't beat your policy, keep it. They had that policy in the first place.
Yeah, I'm never just letting that off the table. I'm always implementing whatever they have onto the conversation.
Yeah.
So that way, I always tell people this, like a solution-based book of business is going to be better than an ABC book of business. So like long term, if you're constantly like trying to figure out a problem, and that's what I train everyone on, like immediately try to find like a problem or something that they have wrong or you can fix, instead of just making your goal get through the whole script and then just pitch numbers. It'll be a better book of business, and they're going to want to refer you people to long term.
Yeah. Well, that's why that why is so huge, because there is a problem. There's some problem that we don't know when they fill out that form or they fill out a request. There's something going on. It's our job to figure it out.
Yeah.
Whether it's they just, refinanced their house or maybe they got divorced. Maybe someone around them passed and now they're thinking about that. But there's always something that triggered them. They weren't just bored and was like, oh, I saw the ad and just felt like filling it out.
Yeah.
They may say, oh, I was just looking into it. But when you dig into that why, you always find some reason there.
Yeah. You just got to keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Like don't ever be afraid to ask as many questions about what they have. If they were paying into something previously that lapsed, like why'd you let it lapse? I'm always asking like why.
Yeah.
Or, like what'd you want? What are you looking to do? Who are you looking to take care of? What's your long-term goal? What would it look like if this isn't set up? Like always implementing as much as I possibly can to get the most I possibly can out of the client.
At what point in your appointment are you uncovering that why? Like walk me through. You call me up. Are you doing some rapport in the beginning? Are you sending your credentials? What's your process?
So my sales process, as soon as I get past the intro.
Yeah. What's your intro?
I'll just tell them like, hey, Mary, this is Brian. I'm reaching out to you in regards to that IUL form, mortgage form, veteran form, whatever the lead might be. I'm the licensed gentleman assigned to go over that with you. Did you have a couple minutes right now? All right, perfect. Before I kick things off here with you, I'm obligated to give you my licensing information here in the state. So could you grab a pen and paper real quick? They grab it, and then I give them my information. And right then and there, as soon as they grab their information, I know, I'm probably going to close this person.
Right.
Like, I just got this person, has no clue who I am to a certain extent, made them stop what they're doing and grab an actual pen and paper. Yeah. So there's some intention right there. So that's when I'm like fully focused in my conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm like prepared. Like I gotta figure out a solution immediately if someone tells me what they got. So as soon as that's already done, they write my information down. I'm just asking the questions immediately. So I'll tell Mary, like, were you looking for something because you didn't have anything in force? You didn't like what you had already, trying to find something cheaper or just add on? Like, what were you really looking to do? And then right away, they'll just start explaining everything. Oh, I have something in force, or I just want to find something cheaper. I'm just looking to add on extra to what I got. And then I'll break down why they're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Mary, typically all the individuals that I've helped throughout the years, I've been going on 5 years doing this, they want to do that to take care of a funeral, final expense, or they're just trying to take care of a mortgage, leave a little bit of a legacy behind. Was any of those reasons what you were looking to do? And then they'll be like, yeah. And then once they say yeah, because they're never going to tell you the specific reason, then I'll just break down more into it.
You dig into it.
Yeah, so like.
That's Mary, huge, though, because what a lot of people do, they go, yeah, and they just move on.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you mean? Yeah. I gave you 3 options. You said, yeah. Which one is it, bro?
Yeah.
But you can't say it that way. So you're not really moving on until you uncover exactly what that reason is.
Yeah, until they tell me the exact reason. So I'll tell them which one best aligned with you long term? Like, what were you looking to do, take care of long term out of those three? And then they'll tell me, oh, I just want to leave some money behind to 3 nieces, or I have something right now that's going up $50 every year, things like that. And then now I know like how to pivot my conversation.
Right.
And that's how a lot of the times I'm not even pitching numbers to people. Like if people want final expenses or just add on, then I'm going to 25, like 15, 20, 25,000. Or if someone has something they're already overpaying for, I'll give them a straight solution.
Yeah.
So Mary, if you're overpaying for this right now, what it'll look like in the next 2-3 years, you're going to be throwing away this much money, and you've already thrown this much money away. Like this policy is going to get rid of itself inevitably if you don't get rid of it now.
Right.
So what we're going to do is roll over the premium. The death benefit's not going to be the same. Like you have the cheap stuff that doesn't pay out. So that's why we want to get rid of it. Like these are billion-dollar organizations we work with. They know what they're doing when they set the premium like that. So it's never going to be that same death benefit. So we're going to roll over the death benefit, see what you think of that, or the premium. I mean, regardless, we got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
And then, boom, I have 2 solutions already. Which one made most sense for you? All right, I got to verify some stuff, see if we can actually do the application and make sure you're approved for this. Because some people, I mean, I've let go of sales too because sometimes they already were kind of good where they were at.
Yeah.
Or they just couldn't get approved for the product I was trying to pitch them. And that's one thing that's huge is you want to make sure like people are, regardless if they're not with you, they're still put in the best position.
Right.
Like I had a lady I had to let go because I couldn't get her approved for a cheaper premium.
Yeah.
And I just texted her like, hey, I'm happy you're like, regardless, you're insured.
Yeah. Well, so you're doing right by clients.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a huge part of this because that will impact your quality of business when you do right by people. And you want to get screwed up with the insurance carriers, have bad quality of business. They won't allow you to have it for that long. They'll terminate you.
100%.
You know, and you know, it's why when I say, can anybody do this? No. What are the requirements? Well, one of the requirements is you have to have a genuine concern about other people. You wouldn't have been so successful with us in this short period of time if you didn't actually give a damn about your clients.
Yeah.
Yes, you got to work. Yes, you got to know what you're doing. Yes, you got to dig into the why. You got to do all those things. But you can't fake the fact that you actually care about taking someone and putting them in a better position.
Yeah.
Because everybody dies, dude. And if we were able to cross path with that individual prior to and we set something up, we're impacting them and their families for generations.
Yeah.
Have you had a death claim?
Yeah.
How many? 1?
2.
2. Do you remember, was one of them more impactful? Do you remember them, like, actually, when was your first one?
My first one was a couple of months ago.
Okay. It was pretty fresh.
Yeah. It was the client I had set up, like, not too far from the actual passing. It was like a couple months prior, like, something happened to them. But
how'd you find out? They called you, carrier notified you?
The beneficiary.
Beneficiary did.
Yeah. They made a claim.
Yeah.
And they got paid out. And I mean,
what'd you think when you first heard? Because it's one thing, like, you obviously know you're in life insurance. I'm sure you've heard stories of other people, but it's different when it happens to you, right?
Yeah, I was, to be honest, like my stomach dropped. I was like,
really?
No way. Like I was just talking to this person, cracking jokes with them.
Yeah.
Like helping them out. And then like things got real.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy to think about. Like that's when it kicked in. Like once people actually have to make a claim and the money's paid out, it's like, all right, now like all the people that say like insurance is a scam, like there's a stigma for life insurance not paying out, like it's real.
Right.
Like I dealt it firsthand, so it's definitely a crazy feeling, but
it's eye-opening. Like it makes it, because it's easy to get caught up in the daily stuff you do, right? I mean, you meet with a lot of people, you buy a lot of leads, you're trained. It's dude, like 1 week runs into the next. But when something like that happens, it's almost like everything stands still for a second. You're like, oh shit, this is why we do this.
Yeah, that's how it felt. Like everything stopped.
Yeah.
I had to call the beneficiary, get in a call with the company, make sure everything was running smoothly. And I mean,
how'd you feel after?
After I felt good, like even though like obviously it's not a good thing, like they passed away, but I felt good knowing like it actually did a service to someone. Like I took time out of my day, make sure someone was put in a good position.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you changed that family's life. It doesn't have to be all dramatic, but
even something small like $5 to $10 grand, which is what it was, it helped a lot.
And a lot of times when you're, there's a reason why a client has a policy that's $5 or $10 grand. A lot of times, budget wise, whatever.
Yeah.
That $5 or $10 grand might as well be $5 million to that family because of like my first death claim. I think was less than $20K. So it was like 15 or 18 grand. Dude, it was like I gave them $20 million.
Yeah.
Because
it's a lot of money.
It is a lot, especially to people that don't have a lot. And it was a matter of, struggling to cover the final expenses versus we're going to grieve anyways. Like your client, they would have passed regardless.
Yeah.
You happen to call them up a few months prior and put something in place. And now when they passed, their family didn't have to worry about covering the funeral cost.
Yeah.
It's life-changing stuff.
100%.
That's stuff that puts families in debt for generations at times.
Yeah. And that's one thing I think about too when I'm dialing.
Yeah.
Is just, I know there's at least like 2 or 3 people out of these leads, like out of 20-pack, 30-pack, like people need help.
Right.
And I also take into consideration like half of Americans, they need a second income.
Right.
So like no matter how much money this person's got set aside, no matter how much this person's got in this account, like that's money meant for them to live off of.
Yeah.
Your family needs that. Like half of Americans need that. That's not meant for them to come out of pocket and spend right away. Like your grandkids need that. So that's one thing I put into perspective for clients as well. Is like your family's good and all. Like, I mean, the wealthiest people have life insurance too. Like, what makes you think you don't need it?
Right. Yeah, matter of fact, the wealthiest people have more life insurance. So it's like, well, of course you need it. It's just a matter of can you afford it?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the things I love about what we do. We're talking about on the True Talk with you and your sister about how we're the best place for the producer. We're also the best place for a middle American person, family, whatever, to get a policy.
Yeah.
We don't look for, the rich of the rich. We look for the people that typically are ignored by insurance companies.
Yeah.
Like there's these other companies that, and it's no knock. Hey, I guess everyone needs coverage, but they'll chase down the rich guy, the yacht owner. They'll meet with them 4, 5, 6, 7 times. IUL. Yeah, right. One giant IUL, get paid, and take the next 3 months off. That's not what we do.
No.
We're meeting with people that sometimes don't have a job. A lot of times are in some bad financial position. I mean, how many times are you on the phone with someone crunching numbers to make sure it fits their budget because if it's a few dollars too much, they're not going to be able to afford it.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
There's a dude a couple weeks ago, he was in like living at a hotel.
Yeah.
But he's like, dude, I need some insurance.
Right.
And I broke down his budget. I'm like, hey, maybe like once you get a job, we can set something
right.
up.
Yeah, you got to know when to walk away
down.
too. But a lot of times it's like, I remember sitting down with them and going, all right, you're paying this much for whatever, this service. Why are you paying so much for cable? Get rid of sitting down and finding the premium.
Yeah.
Because they want this.
Yeah. I'll tell people like you cut off like 3 or 4 McChickens out of the month.
There you go.
Like, you can set this up.
Right. Let's even at coffee and stuff. Like how many times you go to Starbucks a week? Oh, 4 times a week. All right. Well, add up what you're paying there. You'll find $100 like that.
Yeah. All
right. Well, let's put 75 of that into this policy, and now you got $100 grand for the next 30 years or whatever the case.
Yeah.
It's what we do is so impactful on both sides for the agent, but the client. And I love that we deal in middle America and even lower middle America. Like no one came to my house when I was a kid to sell us life insurance. If my mom or dad, we would have been screwed.
Yeah.
We didn't have money. They weren't looking for us. But we're going to meet with families just like that, which is, it's awesome. It just, when you have something like that, death claim, you see the true impact. Because people are going to die regardless, but if we can alleviate the financial strain when that happens, dude, it's night and day.
Yeah.
I've buried family members where they didn't have insurance, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I've seen it when they do, and it's like, it's great.
Yeah. I had a family member of mine, my grandma from my dad's side passed away when I was in elementary school.
Okay.
But like all his siblings flew out from California, all had to come out of pocket.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of money. And I always think about that too. Like, not a lot of people like have this much money just set aside, especially in like something that you never expect.
Right.
Like you can put like your whole life savings away.
Yep.
That you're meant to retire off of. and then boom, you got to get rid of it just like that, just because. I mean, you didn't set something up that took like 30 minutes to do.
Yeah. Yeah, think about that. How many different family members did it take to pull money together to take care of it?
A lot.
Yeah. Then it's like, well, not everybody has family either. So what do they do in those situations where it's a couple people? Yeah. Well, then you're doing GoFundMes and spaghetti dinners and stuff like that, which that ain't life insurance, dude. Yeah. For a few bucks a month, you could have had all that taken care of, but it takes someone like you to get out there and meet with them, which is why it's what we do is amazing on many fronts. So, we'll do. This was great. I appreciate you coming up, doing 100%. This, kicking ass. You'll be at you. So you missed Hall of Fame. Your sister got Hall of Fame last year. You didn't. Did that motivate you this year?
Yeah, it did because I was so close. Like another 2 months, like I would have got it.
Yeah, well, as much as you sell, probably a month. But yeah, you were right. It was a 3 and change.
Yeah, this year I'm trying to shoot for like $1 million.
$1 million is your goal?
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, which is not crazy. I mean, we're about halfway in. You're a little over 3. You can definitely do $1 million. Yeah. It's just like you said with at least a numbers game. Look at what you sell each week. Reverse the math. Here's how many weeks I got left. Well, here's how much more I need to sell to get that. Dude, you plug in the numbers, and I'll see you on stage in February giving you a jacket for being $1 million producer, not just a Hall of Famer. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, dude, appreciate everything you're doing. Keep kicking ass, and thanks for coming up and doing this. Guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can go to FFLconvention.com now, get your tickets for next year, where you can see Breon get his $1 million. I'll put you on the spot now, so you have to do it.
Yeah, I'll definitely do it.
You'll do it. $1 million.
I'm always going to keep implementing.
All right. Your sister's in there watching too, so don't let him let up, Montserrat, all right? She's smiling, so I think she'll be down your back if you let up.
Nah, I definitely won't.
You won't. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for checking us out. You know where to find us every week right here on The Next Level. We'll see you next week.